Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Taisho Alice, and we're just picking up where we left off in the last part, which is in the middle of Gretel's kind of backstory from his perspective, and he was just kind of locked up for beating that kid for insinuating that he did inappropriate things to himself while thinking of his naked sister. I'm assuming he just got angry because he does. Actually, this is even weirder. We have a romance with our brother, but we're not actually having a romance with our brother. It's a little strange. Not exactly how I pictured this route going, but I mean, we both a little cray-cray, so it's entertaining. At any rate. After that, sure enough, I was finally allowed to see my sister. But as happy as it made me, I was too lethargic to express my feelings. My sister seemed deeply concerned about me. Gretel, is there anything you need? Anything I can do for you? I slowly shook my head. No, not in particular. As long as she was with me, I didn't need anything else. Gretel, I could tell she wanted to console me, to cheer me up. Don't cry, okay? I'm here for you. Sister, I'll protect you, I promise. Only in my sister's warm embrace did I finally feel at peace. When I returned home, the person who claimed to be my father said the whole family would live together for the time being. When I asked, what about your job? He said, I'll figure something out. You're more important right now. I'm sorry I haven't been around more. I was so annoyed. He was getting in the way of my peaceful life with my sister. She was my family, not these other people. But if I said that out loud, I'd get thrown right back out of this house, and I couldn't risk that. So instead, I quietly accepted it. I needed to go back to acting like the perfect son. No, I needed to be even more perfect. Besides, I knew my parents would go back to the city sooner or later. They were all talk. If it came down to a choice between me or their jobs, I knew I didn't stand a chance. But I didn't mind. I was fine with it. At least that way things could go back to normal. The only person I needed was my sister. As for my sister, she stayed home with me for the rest of my suspension. When I asked her about college, she simply smiled and said, I'm staying right here with you. I was so happy to know that I was her top priority. After spending time apart from her, I made some important discoveries. I realized exactly how much I needed her, and I realized how she saw me. During my suspension, she offered to tutor me, same as usual, but I declined. Truth be told, I wanted her to teach me all kinds of things, but if I let her, we'd end up right back where we were before. And for her sake, I needed to change, bit by bit. She was always kind to me, but if she ever truly lost faith in me, I'd lose my place in this family. I'd lose everything. So I couldn't just mooch off her kindness. If anything, I needed her to depend on me. Ideally to the point that she couldn't function without me. I wanted her to need me as badly as I needed her. And that way I could ensure that she would never turn against me. And that way I would never be abandoned. The funny thing is like, so he's crazy, because he's like, I need her to depend on me so desperately she can't live without me. But we don't need you so desperately we can't live without you, but we want to be with you. But that's not good enough for him. Like, I mean, he doesn't know that until we tell him, but like, you know, we're at that point now where we're in a freaking cabin in the woods where you could be like, no, I'm not going to desperately need you to survive, but I desperately want to be with you. Isn't that good enough? Damn it, Gretel, what the fuck? We're already a little crazy. You're going to make us worse. Woo! The crazy train is gonna wreck up the rest of the train wreck that was already here. Anyway. And that way I would never be rejected. But apparently, I wasn't the only one who changed. After my 2-week suspension was up, I went to school to find that everyone looked at me differently. All the teachers and classmates who once sung my praises now avoided my gaze and kept me at arm's length. Evidently, I was now on par with that delinquent. How revolting. These people didn't know the first thing about what happened that day. As if these worthless worms could possibly comprehend how I felt. I ate some candy to suppress my anger, and read my textbooks between classes. As I grew calmer, I started to think, maybe I should have acted out a lot sooner. And that way I wouldn't have been forced to humor these plebeian creatures all this time. He's, really fucking full of himself, isn't he? Oh, hi, Gretel! Hi, sister. After school, I found my sister waiting for me by the front gates. She stood out like a sore thumb, and I was surprised to see her there. I thought I'd come get you. Let's go home. Although she didn't say it directly, I could tell she was worried about me. I cursed myself for troubling her, but deep down, I was delighted. Suppressing my feelings, I remained outwardly calm and accepted her proposal. On the way home, she asked me about my day, so I lied and said everything was fine. I didn't tell her, or my parents, how people were treating me at school. I could dress it up by saying I didn't want to worry them or something, but really, I was just ashamed of it. I would have rather offed myself than admit I was being ostracized. Incidentally, rumor had it that my victim had since become a shut-in. Served him right as far as I was concerned. But at the same time, I envied him. Unlike me, that piece of trash had real, biological parents who loved him and refused to abandon him no matter what. God, it pissed me off. And every time I had a mood swing, I ate some candy. The more I ate, the more addicted I got. Sure enough, once my parents had decided that things had settled down, they went back to the city. Now the only people left in the house were me, my sister, and my brother. But once my brother saw that I was behaving like a good boy, he went back to his own house nearby. At last, I could have my sister all to myself. On the surface, things had gone back to normal, but it wasn't quite the same. From the bottom of my heart, I wished we could stay like this forever. Time flew by, and soon 6 months had passed since the incident. The two of us had gone back to our happy life together. By this point, I had learned how to handle my sister. I needed to get aggressive and take the initiative. A little salt to enhance the sweetness. A girl in my class confessed to me today. Confessed what? Her feelings for me. Asked me out. That kind of thing. Cool. Wait, is that why you were late leaving school today? Yes, actually. She had asked to meet me after school. None of this was true. No one would have dared to ask me out prior to my little incident, and that was doubly true now. But my sister didn't know this, so she took me at my word and frowned. Unlike you, she's very cute, meek and quiet, the kind of girl that evokes a protective instinct. So he, full of shit. So all of his, abusive little salt literally is, conning. He's like, I don't want to tell you these horrible things, sister, because I love you, but I must tell you to make you want me. The fuck? My God, we're both criminally insane. But I turned her down. What? You did? How come? And this time her voice went up an octave as her eyes widened. Silly girl. It's like with desserts. The more delicacies you consume, the more refined your palate becomes. Eventually your standards will no longer be satisfied with the ordinary. Okay. After spending time with you, my standards have risen considerably. Wait, so you turned her down because she doesn't measure up compared to me? I almost laughed out loud at her arrogance, but the fact remained, she was right. See, I kind of knew, she said that, I was like, I kind of got the feeling he was trying to be like, oh, yeah, after being around you, dear God, my standards have risen because I don't want anybody as lowly as you. I thought he was trying to insult us. And then she came out oh, so I'm so great. And he's like, the fuck? I mean, it's true, but that's not what I was getting at. I think he was trying to insult us, and we took it like a compliment. Well, I mean, we are a little cray-cray too, so makes sense. So I rose to my feet, pinched her nose, and scowled. Get! And this is exactly why I called you a dumbass. Gretel! Her jewel eyes sparkled brighter and brighter. And they say love is blind, but frankly, I was surprised my perfect sister was still naive enough to believe some guy's lies. I had long since realized that my sister's love for me was romantic. And the way she looked at me, the way she behaved when I was around, all of it suggested that she was in love with me. It was clear from the way she overreacted to everything I said or did. And of course, I was sincerely delighted that she felt that way about me. None of the other girls could possibly hold a candle to her. Compared to my sister's sparkle, the other jewels were mere pebbles. And that said, I couldn't very well encourage her crush. And the second I reciprocated, we would stop being brother and sister. As her brother, I maintained a tenuous connection to her sparkle. And if I stopped being her brother, that connection would be severed. And that being said, I couldn't let some other guy have her either. I didn't want her to be vulnerable around other men the way she was with me. The thought made me realize how relieved I was to have her romantic interest. I wanted her to stay in love with me forever. But the happy times were fleeting, like a phantom, and they swiftly came to an end. One day after school, I found my sister surrounded by human garbage. So I ran right over and put a stop to it. My sister had reached out and touched the maggot's face. She was so clueless. She had no idea that even her smallest actions would have a massive impact on these worthless, subhuman creatures. We're telling him off, though. He didn't realize that. But when it rains, it pours, as they say. And when we got home, my least favorite person, my brother, was waiting for us. He warned me not to overdose on candy, but I ignored him. Maybe he should have thought about that before he prescribed it to me. Why do these people infuriate me so? A short while later, another incident occurred. It happened on the day my sister decided not to walk me to school. And that morning, when she gave me my packed lunch, she told me she wanted us to walk home separately from now on, too. Evidently, she mistakenly thought I found it suffocating. Who could have put that idea in her head? Was it Wolf, that nosy creep? I wanted to roll my eyes, but instead I remained calm. Gretel. Red Riding Hood? And that night I found an unusual visitor standing outside my house. What are you doing here? It was very peculiar to see him here. I feel like Red Riding Hood and, Ryoshi have the same voice, but, what else? Oh, nothing. He averted his gaze and hurried off. I found it suspicious, but decided to shrug it off. What the? In the living room, I noticed the first aid kit sitting on the table. My heart pounded in my chest. I could tell that someone had used some of our disinfectant and gauze. Sister? I looked up at the ceiling. Her shoes were sitting on the shoe rack, so I knew she was here. Did she take a bath? A faint scent of soap lingered in the room. I peered into the bathroom, and no one was inside, but I found my sister's clothes. I picked them up and noticed they were covered in dirt stains. Sirens blared in my mind. I love the fact that we got all of her perspective from, point A to, present, and we're getting his from point A to present. You know what I mean? I like that. I don't remember in the other first two routes, because, again, it's been, fucking 12 years since we played them. But, I don't remember if we got anything in their perspective. And if we did, I don't remember it being this long, but maybe I just... Again, it's been a while. It's been a long-ass time, so maybe we did. I don't remember. I hurried upstairs just as my sister walked out of her room. Sister, what's... As soon as I laid eyes on her, my voice faltered. Her beautiful face was all bandaged up, and it hurt to look at. What happened to your face? Oh, this? I tripped and fell. She answered in a playful tone, but I could tell it was forced. She always did this when she was trying to hide something. Did someone hurt you? Nope. She shook her head. I noticed she was carrying a large suitcase. She must have been planning to sneak away somewhere behind my back. You're lying. No, I'm not. Sister! I was sick of her trying to play dumb, so I raised my voice. She flinched. It's nothing, okay? And she wrapped her arms around me. Sister, there's nothing to worry about. I put my hands on her shoulders and pushed her away. Gretel? And I grabbed her arm and pushed her down on the bed so she couldn't bolt. Gretel, wait! Ah! Pinning her beneath me, I started my inspection. Her cheek, her arms, her palms, and lastly her thighs. Gah! Each time I touched her, she squirmed. I knew it. Someone attacked you. Your cheek is completely swollen and your arms and legs are all scraped up. Plus, I can see finger-shaped bruises on your wrists and... I yanked up her top. A big red bruise had formed on her skin. These injuries were all proof that you were struck. Did they force themselves on you? No. Did they rape you? No, I wasn't raped. I wasn't. I'm fine. And what did they do to you? Why did they do this to my sister? I brought it upon myself, that's all. Brought it upon yourself? What's that supposed to mean? You would never make that kind of mistake. You're too smart for that. I'm not as perfect as you think I am, Gretel. Don't give me that. If you're not perfect, then what does that make me? Trash? I mean, a little bit. We're both a little trash, but that's what we're here for. Look, as far as trash goes, we've played some trash games where it's like, everybody in this game is trash, and like, what the fuck? But like, this, we're both trash, but it is like high-class trash. Like, I am enjoying the fuck out of this. And not like in the sense of like some of the like mixed review games we've played where you're like, this is awful! Oh my, I'm not enjoying it because I came here, I know it's going to be awful, it's painful and awful, but we're enjoying the badness of it. This is the good kind of trash. This is like Jerry Springer, where you were like, I know it's like, but it's good. It's fucking good. Actually, it's probably not even. Jerry Springer is like the other games that we play, like the mixed reviews, where you're like, this is terrible. I enjoy it, but this is what the actual fuck, but I'm still having fun while it's painful. This is like, I don't have anything to compare it to. What is the good analogy for this where you were like, we are trash people. Like, he's trash, I'm trash, we're both, and it's fucking glorious. Like, usually the trash husbandos like this, I'm usually like, no, go fuck yourselves, don't like it. I love him, though, because we are also just as trash as he is. We're perfect for each other. And I like that. I can work with this, and that's probably why... I mean, also, the writing and the translation are just so good and entertaining that even if you didn't particularly, you were like, oh my god, what the fuck is wrong with this route? It's so good to read. And it's so easy to read. It just flows naturally and feels good. And like, before you know it, you're like, oh, yeah. I mean, I could sit here for 5 or 6 hours and just read this game. Where other games, I'm like, okay, I've done like an hour or two. Maybe I gotta stop or like, do one part a day. I could sit here all fucking night and read this and not get tired. Like, it's that entertaining. I don't have that kind of time right this second, but like, I don't know. I feel like, but again, I think I said it before, in every other game where we had a Gretel character, the MC is like, does not fit with it, and you're like, no. In this one, we are like just as bad as he is. I mean, maybe not as bad, but we're pretty trashy too. So like, I don't know, maybe that's why it doesn't bother me that much. Like, or again, I didn't hate, like, I feel like if I hated Gretel, or I just didn't like him, or I wasn't like, I was like, whatever. Like, cause you know what I mean? Like, every single time when I look into a Tome game and I see all our little husbands, I'm always like, this one and this one, those are my favorites. And then sometimes I'm like, I love you, but I hate you. And then there's other ones that I'm like, you didn't appeal to me at first, but I like the route. But generally, I pick them out, I eyeball them, like, you and you're my favorites, I love you. And then there's other ones that I'm just not interested in, or I'm like, you're in the middle, and then your route is really going to depend on whether I love you or hate you. I liked Gretel from the very beginning, so that could be what's persuading me to, like, Not be like, the fuck is wrong with this route? I think it's a combination. A little bit of that. A little bit just the fact that the game itself is so good and easy to read that I don't mind the trash that we are. And again, the MC is a little bit trash in this route. So, like, we're perfect for each other and it doesn't squick me out like sometimes. Like, in Toma's route, I was like, the fuck is that? Again, my hate for Toma could 100% be because it was the first time I'd encountered that. And now if I played that game for the first time, I might still be like, you suck, you're a dick. But I might not have had the hate boner I have for him. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I don't hate this. Actually really enjoying how terrible we both are. I love it. Anyway, why won't you just tell me what happened? You told Red Riding Hood, right? Why is it you could tell him but not me? It's not that. And then what is it? Is it me? Is it my fault this happened to you? Is that why you won't? No! Then tell me! If you care about me as much as you claim to, then tell me what happened and who did this. Don't lie to me! I'm sorry, I can't see the line "Don't lie to me" without hearing Alan Rickman's voice in my head as Severus Snape. Don't lie to me! Visualize that bit in Harry Potter. I'm sorry. There's just certain things that are triggering, like that line. You're like, yeah, no. I can't read it like he did it, but I heard it in my head that way. On my way home, a stranger tried to pull me in their car, but Red rescued me. Is that true? Yes? Then why didn't you go straight to the police? Or the hospital? I did. See? I'm all patched up. She smiled and gestured to the gauze. You're lying. No, I noticed there's less gauze and disinfectant in the first aid kit. Please don't lie to me. My voice shook. No, not just my voice. My whole body was shaking. Gretel. My sight blurred as a single drop fell onto her shapely chest. She reached out to touch my cheek, but I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed her outstretched hand and kissed it. Sister. 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 My poor, sweet sister. Look what they've done to you. I bet it was agony, wasn't it? Terrifying, wasn't it? I should have been there for you, but I wasn't. I'm so sorry. Sister. I held her and sobbed. She put her arms around me and held me back. My dear, angelic sister. She had suffered far worse than I had. She was in physical pain, and yet she still put me first. How could I possibly make it up to her? After a long moment, I got up. I had a job to do. Fortunately, I'd brought the jar of candy with me just in case. Sister, here, eat this. Let's erase all those awful memories. Gretel? I picked out 2 candies and brought them to her mouth. She shook her head, refusing. So I spoke to her gently to avoid frightening her. Don't worry. You're just going to sleep for a while. That's all. I didn't have time for a long, involved conversation. So I put the candy in my mouth and kissed her. She put up a fight, but I pushed her tongue out of the way and forced the candy in. Even after she swallowed them, the sweet taste lingered, and I dearly wanted to share it with her. Gretel. It was my first kiss. My sister's face turned red, and her chest started to heave, possibly from the lack of oxygen. Her jewel eyes were damp and gleaming. Sister. I administered candy to her again and again. I couldn't stop myself. And she didn't resist. Sister, I'm sorry. I know that we shouldn't, that we're siblings. But today can be a special exception. You love special exceptions, don't you? Over time, her eyelids grew heavy. Evidently, the drug had kicked in. Don't worry. Just give in to the sedative and tell yourself it was all a bad dream. It was just a nightmare brought upon you by pesky demons. Once you wake up, we'll go back to our happy lives. I planted one final tiny kiss on her lips, and then the jar fell, and a candy rainbow scattered all over the floor. Now it truly felt like a nightmare. Gretel. When she was rendered immobile, I left the house. I was going to make it up to her by putting an end to the people who hurt her. After all, I had a pretty good idea of who it was. It must have been the worthless worms who were harassing her. Or hassling her, sorry. I vaguely recognized them. They were buddies with the loser I sent to the hospital 6 months ago. Why had they waited so long to get their revenge? The more I thought about what they had probably done to my sister, the deeper my rage burned. Found you. Late that night, when the streets were deserted, I tailed one of the worms and ambushed him. With a little threatening, he quickly admitted that they had attacked my sister. First, I made him tell me what really happened, as well as the whereabouts of his buddies. Then, one by one, I called them all out to the woods where they liked to hang out. Not one of them ever suspected a thing. They all waltzed right up to me, and it was all too easy to nab them. And after a little interrogating, they all swiftly confessed to their crimes. And this process took place over nearly a full day. I wanted to take them all out during the night when no one was around, but hey, no plan ever works out perfectly. Instead, he could have killed them one by one, you know? That said, their little hideout made for a convenient setting. No one came to investigate the commotion. After I had my fill of tormenting them, I stole their phones and viewed the footage of their crimes against my sister. On screen, I could see my sister trying to crawl away. They grabbed her by the hair and forced her onto the ground, kicked her, hit her in the face. One of them buried his face in her neck and put his hands up her shirt. But then someone else showed up and the video ended abruptly. He looked up at me, terror in their eyes. They'd made several improvements to their faces, including swollen cheeks, cut lips, and dried blood. Thank you for going to the trouble of recording it for me. Now I don't have to think too hard about how to punish you. For now, I'll start with repaying my sister's injuries 100-fold. I dropped the phones to the ground and kicked the nearest conveniently available stomach. One kick to the stomach. Oh, but I said 100-fold, so that means I got 99 more to go. 2, 3, 4. I kicked him again and again and again, till eventually I started to wear myself out. When I stopped, my victim started to cough and wheeze. Oh, now you're coughing up blood? You're so dramatic. I stomped on his skull. Help me! Help you? You really think crying and apologizing will save you? You think you can just beg for forgiveness? Do you realize how deeply you hurt my sister? No, you only ever think about yourselves. This is why I despise idiots like you. If you think about it, this is nothing compared to what you did to her. Attempted gang rape? Really? Tell me, who raised you to be human scum? Because they did one hell of a job. Yeah, I bet your parents are all scumbags just like you. Not like you were raised any better. Shut the fuck up! And I walked over to the loudmouth, grabbed him by the collar, and hoisted him up. I raised my fist as he glared bitterly back at me. See, unlike you maggots, I was raised by the perfect woman. Beautiful, smart, kind, skilled at pretty much everything, especially cooking. Everything she makes is heavenly. In all my life, I've never met anyone as exceptional as her, and I doubt anyone will ever surpass her. Okay, like, not gonna lie, we all kind of want someone to love us the way Gretel loves his sister. Maybe not as, like, creepy, like, you know, Fatal Attraction-y, but, like, still kind of. You're like, no one will ever measure up to you, you're the best. I mean, yeah, but if you could just be not, like, you're gonna boil my bunny kind of way, but, like, sorta. I want you to love me more than anyone else and be like, no one will ever hold a candle to you. Thanks. But not me. No one will ever hold a candle to you. Lock me up in a cage kind of shit. You know, I'm just saying. He crossed the line, but, like, you know. Once I confirmed that he was done talking back, I threw him to the ground. Then I looked over at the rest of them. Incidentally, is this the only video?
Yeah, that's it.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Do you pinky swear? I pinched the youngest boy's pinky between my thumb and forefinger. His fingers filmed that video. Isn't that right?
Stop! Please don't!
Evidently, even an idiot like him could see where this was headed. But his desperate plea fell on deaf ears.
Ah!
Will you shut up? All I did was break a finger. Quit making a scene. I sighed and flung out another kick to shut him up. He is so fucking crazy. So is that the only video? No others?
No, no others. That's the only one.
If you're lying, I'll kill you.
Oh, I remember. There's photos. Not me, though. It was him.
He pointed at one of his buddies. Oh?
It's the truth. I'm not lying.
My gaze turned to the other worm, who immediately started crying and shaking his head.
I mean, like, he could have just taken their phones and checked for himself, but this is really just to torment them, because, like, no, because he just wants to torment them more. Like, he could easily have grabbed all their phones and been like, nope, no videos here. Nope, no videos here. Nope, no videos here. Nope, no videos here. But that wouldn't be as much fun as torturing these fucks.
Was this their sacrificial offering to me? Did they think they could save themselves by throwing their friend under the bus? I snorted. I see. Thank you for letting me know. Well then, I better break one of your fingers too. He tried to crawl away, but I grabbed him by the back of the neck and hoisted him up.
There's 4 of them. I just want to point this out. There are 4 of them. And he has done so much fucking damage that none of them can even... While he's breaking this other guy's fingers, nobody can just hit him over the back of the head or anything. That's how much he's fucked them up. Little Gretel fucked up 4 of them. Like, I'm just saying, don't mess with Gretel, okay?
I grimaced as an unpleasant stench met my nostrils. The crotch of his pants was visibly damp. He had wet himself. Disgusting.
I'm sorry. Please, I'm begging you. Please don't.
Truth be told, I didn't really want to even be near them, let alone touch them. But I didn't have a choice. If you knew what you did was wrong, then you shouldn't have done it in the first place. As he flailed on the ground, I stomped my shoe against his face, grabbed his middle finger and twisted it as hard as I could.
Ah!
His scream echoed through the trees. I picked up a decent-sized rock laying nearby and wedged it into his mouth. Shh! Quiet time. Smiling, I pressed my index finger to my lips. All this screaming is really starting to grate on my ears. I figured if he didn't shut up, I'd just kick him in the face and make him break his teeth on the rock. Instead, he nodded vigorously as tears streamed down his cheek. Oh, cheeks. Wow, sorry. My screen just blinked out quickly. Looks like I've crushed all of them. I stomped on their phones until they shattered, then pulled out their SIM cards and stomped on those for good measure. Now no one would ever uncover my sister's dark secret. In my relief, I glanced over and made eye contact with one of the quieter worms. I'd better delete your memories while I'm at it. If I stomp down really hard on your skulls, do you think they'd break?
You're insane!
Have you looked in the mirror lately? You tried to rape my sister. You pinned her down against her will and put your hand up her shirt. If your grudge was with me, then you should have taken it up with me. But instead you went after my sister like a coward. The only good thing about that disgusting video footage was that it showed they were interrupted before that line could be crossed. Judging from their voice, the intruder was probably Red Riding Hood. But then again... I grabbed the leader by the hair and made him kiss the dirt. This was the one I really needed to torture. The video replayed in my head, vividly as if I were standing right there at the time. This one buried his face into my sister's neck,
slobbered all over her skin. Then he put his hand up her shirt and fondled her breasts against her will.
You really had the hots for my sister, didn't you? That's why you brought her out here and tried to fuck her. I always knew she had a lot of male admirers, but I didn't realize maggots like you were among them. That said, I get why you'd be attracted to someone as perfect as her. You want what she has, am I right? I had destroyed the evidence, but the memories still remained. Her pretty face was beaten, and her beautiful body was very nearly tarnished, all thanks to this piece of trash. Rage boiled inside me. So how was it? How did my sister's tits feel? His lips spread in a crazed grin.
Oh, amazing. You'd think this fucker would learn by now. Fucking with Gretel is never gonna end well.
I see.
Die, you piece of shit!
My anger morphed into murderous design, and I kicked him hard in the gut. Then I leapt on top of him and punched him over and over and over. His blood stained my fists and flew onto my face. An indeterminate amount of time passed. My fists were starting to hurt, so I let up. Now there's a nice look for you. The thug who had touched my sister was now nigh unrecognizable. His face was completely swollen and bleeding all over. His nose was possibly broken, and his eardrums might have ruptured. But that was what he deserved for laying a finger on my sister. That was his just desserts. I could hear the others crying as they watched. How disgraceful. Man up, you little worms. If anyone should be crying, it's me. Now that he was rendered unconscious, I hopped off him. Then I noticed a bottle lying on the ground. I crouched down and picked it up. According to the label, the alcohol content was 96%.
That's fucking high.
Now then, moving on. He must have thought I was going to beat them some more, because they all yelped and trembled. Relax. I've got something else in mind for this. At first, I thought maybe I could erase their memories by giving them brain contusions, but that simply wouldn't do. As long as they remained alive, my sister and I would relive those memories every time we saw them. So there was only one choice. And this was my only option. I opened the bottle and promptly poured its contents all over the worms. The smell of alcohol filled the air, neatly overriding the stench of blood and ammonia. Once the bottle was empty, I tossed it to the ground, and they flinched. I told you I'm done hitting you. I pulled a matchbox out of my pocket and crouched down to their eye level. And then I took a matchstick out of the box and waved it in their faces. Did you know? The higher the alcohol content, the more flammable the liquid. I watched as despair descended over them. Want to test it out? I pretended to strike the match, and one of them let out a scream.
Please just stop! Let this go!
Never.
You demon!
You're the demons here! You tried to devour my sister! So now it's time to take the trash to the incinerator. Burn in hell. Maggots! But right as I went to light the match... Stop! Sister? It was my sister. She wrapped her arms around me from behind, more tightly than I thought she was capable of. I turned and looked her in the eyes. Gretel, you're bleeding. Evidently, she thought the blood was mine. To reassure her, I smiled and spoke in a cheerful tone. I wouldn't touch me if I were you. Who knows what manner of awful diseases you might catch from their filthy fluids. Don't worry. I'm going to incinerate all of this stinking trash, right here and now.
No!
She snatched at my match faster than I was expecting her to be. In my surprise, it fell from my fingers to the wet ground. What are you doing? You made me waste it. Oh, well, whatever. I have more where that came from. I pulled another match out of the box. Please don't do this. Don't do what? Don't get justice for you? You have nothing to worry about. I won't make you the villain, I promise.
I'm sorry, everyone. This is all my fault. Why are you apologizing to these worms, sister? They're the ones who hurt you. In her honor, I stomped on a nearby piece of trash. That's enough! Enough already! Just stop! If you go any further, he'll die! Excuse me? That was when I realized that she wasn't worried about me. She was worried about her abusers. She was just so naive. So cloyingly innocent, it made me sick. I think we're more worried that you're going to be a murderer. That's at least the impression I got. That's at least me. I'd be more worried. I'm not worried about you killing them because they're trash and I get you and I'm with you. But I don't want you to be a murderer. I'm trash just like both of them. Whatever. Who gives a shit if he dies? These vermin will never contribute to society. They have no concept of right and wrong. They simply act on their own desires. They're literally worthless. Why are you defending them? These creatures attacked you, remember? They very nearly raped you. They hurt your body and scarred your precious soul. The damage could have been permanent, you know. But it wasn't. I'm fine now. Well, I'm not fine! The thought of my sister's abusers living happily ever after makes me want to puke. I'm begging you, please, just stop. I just want to go home with you. And if you cross that line, Sister. She was crying. Honestly, I wasn't sure what exactly she was crying over. Me? Herself? Or her attackers? But either way, I knew I had caused it. Gretel! Gah! Out of nowhere, a fist came flying at me. I couldn't dodge it. The hell do you think you're doing? Ryoshi! The taste of metal spread in my mouth. I spat a glob of blood and saliva to the ground, then glared at the intruder. It was the man I hated more than anyone else. My sister's real brother. And what the hell are you doing here? I told you to get some rest, damn you! I felt my sister shrinking against my back. Poor thing. She was probably scared out of her wits. If you're going to yell at someone, yell at me. She braved these woods in order to find me. Gretel. When I stood up for my sister, Ryoshi rounded on me. Damn it, Gretel! Do you realize what you were about to do? You were about to commit murder! Yes, I know. What of it? I beg your pardon? He stared at me wide-eyed, like he was at a loss for words. Screw it! The lecture will have to wait! Then he turned away and started to untie the vermin. Oh, that's true, he had him tied up. Okay, that makes more sense that they couldn't get away from him. like, damn. I mean, he literally did beat them to pulps, though, so, probably wouldn't have had much strength, but, he didn't mention... I should have assumed he tied them up. Look, he still kicked the shit out of 4 people and they didn't even try. Hey, you kids okay? Stay with me. Help me. I'm gonna call an ambulance for you. Seems like you're all still breathing. What are you doing? You don't have to trouble yourself with these worms. Just let nature sort itself out. Not on your life. Yes, hello. I need an ambulance right away. Right, our current location. They tried to rape your little sister! Unlike me, he was actually related to her. He was always so envious of that. I coveted that connection. That doesn't mean they deserve to die. Maybe you don't care if they die, but these kids have families. Family? So I'm worth even less than these maggots, is that it? Gretel! I mean, that's what it sounds like. After all, I don't have a family. Poor kid's got issues. I don't need to be clued in either. I always knew we weren't related. Unlike you people, I'm not smart or talented. I'm just a worthless piece of trash. Again, kind of everybody in this route is. That's why I put so much effort into everything I did. Schoolwork, sports. I did everything I could to win approval from people as naturally perfect as you. Gretel, that loser's comments replayed in my mind. I heard you're not really related. Everybody knows it. You were adopted. Shut up, shut up, shut up!
I didn't need other people to tell me what I already knew. I knew my parents weren't really my parents. I knew my sister wasn't really my sister. Biologically, we were strangers. Honestly, I couldn't really remember when it was that I first figured it out. Not that it mattered. What mattered was that my sister and I weren't really connected. Her blood didn't run in my veins, which meant I wasn't special.
No, but you are special because there's nobody else we want to be in love with. I mean,
I knew. I could just tell. Unlike you people, I wasn't skilled or gifted. Be it schoolwork or sports, I quietly put my nose to the grindstone until I got to where I am today. I just wanted to catch up to my sister, to stay connected with her, so I crafted the perfect little brother. So why are you people trying to destroy that? If I encouraged her crush, we could be together romantically, but then our sibling relationship would come to an end, which would mean admitting that I wasn't part of their perfect family. And I would sooner let someone like Wolf have her than admit that. Sister.
or we could just be the creepy weirdos who date our siblings. We could be both. Like, it's creepy and a little gross, but like, look where we are in this route. I'm just saying, let's just take it all the way. These games have really warped me, haven't they?
You are the one person I can't afford to lose. Please don't abandon me. Gretel. Cupping my face in her hand, she pulled me close and kissed my cheek. And then as I stared back in shock, she grabbed my arm and started running. Sister.
Hey, Spacey! Gretel!
But she ignored her real brother and instead dragged her fake brother deep into the woods. Sister. Oh, sister. I love you more than anyone in the world. And I would follow you anywhere.
Screw you!
The sudden scream snapped me awake.
What's wrong?
Sister. As soon as he saw me, Gretel collapsed on the spot. Gretel? I jumped out of bed and tried to approach him.
Yeah, okay, there is no border on. I was like, has there always been a border, just not green, that I missed? No, okay. Like,
whoa! But my ribbon snagged on something and I fell to the floor like a sack of potatoes. Ow, 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 ow. As it turned out, trying to move around in the dark was a lot trickier than you'd think. Especially when your hands and feet were bound.
How'd he untie us? I thought he had untied us because it was dark and we couldn't go anywhere.
Thank you. He helped me to my feet, then pulled me into a hug.
I mean, he turned off the light so we'd be dependent on him, but again, I thought we mentioned that he had untied us.
Gretel? Looking up at him, I was startled to see his eyes full of tears. Then he pulled my head against his chest like he didn't want me to see them. Sister, I refuse to let anyone else have you. You're my dearest treasure, sister. Without you, I have nothing. So I have no choice but to protect you with my own two hands. I refuse to give you up. It almost sounded like he was talking to himself rather than me. As usual, I was powerless to do anything. I couldn't hug him back. I couldn't wipe away his tears. But since he was the one who tied me up, it was apparently what he wanted. Eventually, Gretel slowly pulled away from me. Our eyes met. His gaze wavered. Sister, I have to leave now. Where are you going? He didn't give me an answer, so I offered one of my own. To Ryoshi's house? Yes. He was going back to get more candy. Candy he needed in order to control himself. Will you wait here until I return?
I'll wait for him, I'll go with him, I'll stop him. Okay. I don't remember which one it was, but there is a point in here where there's 3 options and one leads to a bad ending. Or It was either one leads to a bad ending, or it might have been, because in the guide, you know, like I said, the one that I found was like, ABC. Not that it helps me. Or it might have been one of them continues, and then they mentioned specifically they didn't try the other two options. So now I can't remember, because my guide is like, who the fuck knows where, but we're trying to go without the guide, see where we get. So I'm not sure if one like leads to the right way, and then I don't know what the other two do. They might be bad endings. There might be more than 2 bad endings. I don't know. Will you wait for him? Well, I don't think we should go with him. That would be bad. Right? I mean, okay, theoretically, if we're like, I think offering to go with him might be good, you know? But if we go with him, then Ryoshi has both of us. If we don't go with him, I don't think we should stop him. I think that would be bad. Or should we stop him from getting candy? All of these could be good and could be bad. If we try to stop him, he could get pissed at us. And that could be bad. But it could be good to be like, no, you don't need the candy. I love you anyway, right? Okay. Going with him could be bad because then Ryoshi would capture both of us and then we'd both be fucked. It could be good because he'd be like, oh, that's sweet. You want to be with me and go with me. You know, you can't be without me type of a thing. Waiting for him is, since he asked us to wait for him, it's probably the right answer. I don't know, though. And at least if we stay here, Ryoshi isn't going to kidnap Gretel because Gretel will be like, yeah, but Spacey's lost somewhere and you won't ever find her. Ha ha ha. You know what I mean? So that Ryoshi can't lock up Gretel. Because then they'll never find me and I'd be dead. If Ryoshi was smart, this is all I'm saying. If Ryoshi was smart, if Gretel showed up and he saw him, or, you know, he was, like, when Gretel supposedly, quote-unquote, went to school, who knows if he actually did, Ryoshi would have been stalking out hiding, seen Gretel, and then, like, secretly followed him to find out where we were, and then fucking set an ambush up. I'm just saying. Smart people don't do that. They're like, I've got you now, Gretel, and Gretel's like, yeah, but you'll never find Spacey, damn it. That's why you don't tell him you know you're on to... People are dumb. Anyway, let's just agree to wait for him. We'll see what happens. Fine. I'll stay here and wait for you to get back. Thank you. He let out a sigh of relief. I need you to sit tight and be patient, sister. Or maybe it's bad because now he's going to leave, never come back, and we're going to die in here alone. There's good and bad to both. Of every choice, there's a good and a bad. Like, I can logically see the good and the bad. He grabbed the jar of star candies, opened it, and pulled one out. I could tell he was going to feed it to me, but what I wasn't expecting was for him to grab the back of my head and nearly force his fingers down my throat. I was so startled I accidentally bit down, but Gretel didn't retract his fingers. He simply grimaced slightly. Look, if you're gonna force feed me drugs, at least kiss me when you do it, like you did the first time. Unfortunately for me, he was triggering my gag reflex. Tears welled in my eyes. Please swallow. I'm sorry. I would have liked to be more gentle about this, but knowing me, I'd probably lose control. I realized he was going to keep his fingers in my mouth for as long as it took, so I guided the candy to the back of my throat and swallowed. Did you swallow it? Mm-hmm. I nodded. Then finally, Gretel pulled his fingers out of my mouth. Ugh. I choked, spraying spittle everywhere. Hastily, I tilted my head down and pursed my lips. My body was burning with shame. But Gretel grabbed my chin, tilted my face up, and wiped my spit with his sleeve. Don't! Your sleeve will get all gross! I don't mind a little spit if it's yours. He hoisted me up and carried me into the giant bird cage at the center of the room. Oh, well, here we go. Now we're in the cage. We're gonna die in here. Then he walked out and locked the cage door behind him. Sister. He reached for me through the metal bars. I approached him and his fingers brushed my hair, yet I'm still tied up. But I'm in a cage. You could at least untie me in the cage. Just stay put for a while. It's for my own sanity. What do you mean? As long as you're in there, no one will take you away, and nor will you leave of your own accord, and nor will you put yourself in harm's way. Soon the candy will kick in and you'll get sleepy.
And by the time you wake up, I'll be back. Oh god, this is going to be a bad ending, isn't it? Gretel. See you soon, okay? Wait! As he rose to his feet, I called after him. I probably would have grabbed his arm, too, if my hands weren't tied. I looked up at him from the floor. Can I make just one request? Oh, what is it? What will you request? Oh, what will you request? Request, Jesus. Please don't hurt anyone. Please don't get hurt. Please don't hurt yourself. Please come back to me. I really feel like, don't hurt anyone! Don't get hurt. All of these are good, but I feel like the right answer for him should be, come back to me. Ooh, or please don't get hurt. Let's go with please come back to me. That's my instinct on how to get us a bad ending. I don't know. Promise me you'll come back to me, no matter what. Is that all? Yeah. Can you accept this selfish demand of mine? Of course. A younger brother can never disobey his older sister. Right. Okay then. I'll be back soon. Spacey. Come home safe, Gretel. Once I made sure Gretel was gone, I spat the candy onto the floor. I felt bad since I knew he was only trying to look out for me, but it was a pill I couldn't swallow. Now then. Will you break out of your wrist restraints? Oh god, this is very weird. I don't know. I feel like, should we? I mean, like, instinct is yes! But if we choose to stay and he comes back, we broke out of our restraints. I got out of the cage and I got out of my restraints, but I'm still here. Here for you, boo. You know what I'm saying? So, alright, let's just break those restraints. What the fuck? I let out a breath and then wrestled with my wrist restraints, trying to break free. I was hoping to slip out once they were loose enough, but it wasn't going well. Minutes ticked by, probably 20 or 30. Gradually, my arms started to get tired, and I was forced to take a break. Phew! My arms went so numb, they started to feel like someone else's. It was a strange feeling, to say the least. I was sick of having my arms tied up all the time. Even if I was relatively certain Gretel wasn't going to untie them, Gretel was going to untie them eventually. Ugh! After a short break, I went back to fighting with the ribbon, tugging and loosening over and over. I didn't care if I pulled a muscle, anything to get out of these restraints. Eventually, I'm out! At long last, I managed to create a gap big enough to pull one of my wrists through. The rest of the ribbon fell to the floor. Thankfully, Gretel had tied the knot loosely as a courtesy to me. With my hands free, I quickly made short work of my ankle restraints. My next target, the cage door. The metal bars were cold to the touch, threatening to freeze me to the core. Locked from the outside, the door refused to budge no matter how hard I pushed or pulled. The joy of escaping my bonds was swiftly crushed. In the end, untying myself was only one small step. It didn't solve the bigger issue at hand. Brrr. Took a breath of cold air and exhaled. Glancing at the wood-burning stove, I could see bright orange flames through the glass window. I'd asked Gretel to put the fire on before he left, since I was cold. As I gazed at the fire, I thought about Gretel. Dun dun dun. This is actually a perfect place to stop. We're in Gretel's perspective again. And I'm going to stop here, and we're going to continue in the next part. So I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.